Namaste. Hello yogis, welcome to the Shaman and the Mermaid. We're bringing you the astrological weather for March 24th all the way through April 7th. And I know you're all feeling it out there for sure.
And I hope you're doing well and hanging in there, and we're all in this together and we're feeling it, all of us. So hang in there. And we're going to try to explain what's going on above in the heavens so that you can better understand, or at least have some tools to navigate down here below while we're in the fire. And I call it the fire because there is so much fire in the fire sign of Aries, starting with the new moon in Aries on March 24th.
This is a super new moon, and as a little reminder, whenever the moon is new, she's traveling with the sun in the sky, so the term is conjunct, and she has a few other companions with her right there in Aries. We're actually going to use this diagram, or
my homemade astrology wheel with magnets.
It's pretty awesome. But even without knowing what's going on here, you can see that everything in the astrology right now is on one side of the sky or one side of the chart, and the other side is not full.
And this whole slice of the pie right there is all Aries, which is the very first fire sign in the astrology wheel. And look at how much is going on in Aries. On fire. We're on fire. And that's going to kind of lead us to our theme for this period. And we've come up with offer to the fire that which needs to burn. And we'll explain a little bit more later, but the theme is offer to the fire that which needs to burn. So do you want to explain what it means when everything is on one side of the wheel?
Yes, and I'm going to use our shamanic drumsticks here to help.
Very technical tools.
But you will not forget this. If you can see right here, there's two bumblebees on her chart.
Also very technical tools.
Those are the moon's nodes. And they're exactly opposite, and they're holding everything on this side of the chart. The moon's nodes, yogis, have to do with the evolutionary path of our planet and you as an individual. For the past 18, 19 months, the nodes have been in the signs of Capricorn and Cancer. The south node up here in Capricorn has to do with that which needs to be purified for us to succeed in our evolution. A shorter way of saying that, it's the patterns and subconscious things that we keep doing over and over and over again that aren't working. And Capricorn energy specifically, when we're talking about the world and society, is government, it's banking systems, it's rules and regulations, it's the way we take care of our elders, it's schooling systems, it's the way we use transportation, all of those major things that are under fire right now. The south node is what we're going towards as we... Oh, sorry, the north node. Thank you.
Just to keep it not confusing.
The north node is what we're evolving towards. As we purify the south node energy, that Capricorn structure, we want to call in more Cancer energy. And Cancer energy is more personal. It's about caring and nurturing. It's about taking care of each other and about taking care of elders and the ancestors and children. It's about knowing how to be in more of a flow with the feminine side and Mother Earth and Mother Nature.
So, two big pieces here, the south node in Capricorn, north node in Cancer. And they've been there for the last almost 18 months, 16 months. They're going to move out in May. So they've been there a long time holding this directional flow, like get going on purifying this governmental stuff, this your law and order needs purification, all the things Michael mentioned. It's saying do this. And the north node is saying and turn towards this Cancer energy, which is much more yin. Capricorn's very young, and Cancer is very yin. It's saying move towards the yin, move towards that mothering, nurturing, caregiving, compassionate energy. Notice there's nothing here in Cancer but everything is moving its way around the wheel, moving towards this. So when we're feeling like cataclysmic doomsday right now, just know that things are moving into this. And this is much like the story of Shiva. If you remember this deity of the dancing Shiva, he's got one leg up and he's got his hands turning, he's got many hands, he's got one holding the fire and one holding the drum and one holding, I can't even remember all the things right now, but he's doing the cosmic dance, or the dance called Tundava. And this is the dance of destruction or dissolution all the way through creation. And another version of this is the phoenix rising. You know, the bird is coming to its fruition, and then it dissolves and goes back to dust, and out of the dust it comes, or the ash, it comes back into this beautiful bird again, and it's the cycle over and over. And another image of this, if you're familiar with the yugas in the Vedic history of things, we are coming out of the Kali Yuga toward the Satya Yuga, and the Kali Yuga is the dark ages of our humanity. And so we're at this big burn right now. We're at the burn where everything is going to ash, but shifting towards the dance of enlightenment. So there's two versions of the Tundava. When it's in the destruction mode, it's the Rudra Tandava. And when it's in the bliss or the celebration or the joy dance, it's called the Ananda Tandava. So clearly we're in the Rudra Tandava. We're in the destruction and desolation, and everything is throwing down. And we can see the collapse of our financial systems, and we can see our schools that are in the shutdown mode, and teachers and facilitators are scrambling to figure out how to do continued education online. This is going to change everything going forward. We are coming down to that ground zero where then the phoenix comes out of the ash and rises again. So while we're in this burn, while we're in this fire dance, and we're being asked to stay calm, because I want to point out a couple of things. I say stay calm because there's some key players over here in Aries, the sign of fire, besides the moon, that are telling us to stay calm. Keep your wits about you. I know calm is a hard one, but keep your wits about you and not overreact, because that's our tendency. When we hear the fire alarm in the building, everybody beelines out the door. And sometimes their efforts to get out the door is only every man for themselves, and they will do whatever it takes to keep their soul self safe and out the door. And in doing so, it creates chaos. And in the chaos, fewer people survive than if we do what we've been doing in those practice fire drills all these years in schools, and all the time that we know exactly what to do when there's a fire. We're supposed to single file, head on out in a controlled manner and help each other get through the door, not panic, not run. We also know what to do when we catch on fire. It's the, drop and roll. And what we're doing right now, from what I see in my section of the world, in my little bubble of the world, is most people are behaving in that way. They're taking all the things that they've prepared themselves for, and they're practicing that safe exit, not going into chaos. So kudos to all you guys for behaving in this way, because it could be so much worse. There could be so much more chaos going on. But you're listening to your inner self and remembering the wisdom in your heart, and knowing these what we would call original instruction of what is the thing to do when you're in the fire. Not everybody is doing that. You can see some chaos around, and you can see some people disregarding or not taking it seriously. That is not helping the situation. But while we're in the fire, I asked Michael to explain to us, like, what are some of these planets over here, or bigger astral bodies that are speaking to us right now? What is some of the messages that they're giving us as how to exit the building safely?
Well, this new moon, I'm using my little drumsticks here, is square to the nodes. This is where the moon and the sun is and all of our other Aries players. And they're making this dynamic angle. And by dynamic, I mean something has got to change and something is being activated whenever there's a square in the chart. Quick refresher, the sun, it represents us personally, how our personal self, our heart self, when we're centered, shows up in the world, how we shine out. When it's not centered, it's our little asshole self, our little ego self. The moon is how we talk to ourselves in our inner worlds, and it's our inner child. The sun and the moon go together. They're not separate, but in the chart we separate them out so that we can understand our inner and outer world dynamic. But the moon is also how you show up, but it's what you're thinking about, feeling in your inner worlds, and it informs how your outer sun self reacts to situations. Now these mystical symbols down here are maybe less known, but these are big players, yogis. This one right here is Chiron, and Chiron is the wounded healer. It's where our collective wound is as a society, our collective traumas. Aries has to do with, do I have any power? What can I do in a situation? When I'm feeling under pressure, do I act like the warrior and try and cut everybody's heads off and every man for himself? Or do I stand up and be a leader and innovate and take new direction and rebirth in spring? Aries energy is also spring right now. It's the delicate crocus and the hyacinth and the buds coming out. And that energy, while it's expanding out in Aries way, it's also life affirming. And I think that's what this Aries energy is asking us to do. So Chiron gives a little bit of caution not to grab the sword, but to remember the crocus energy and go for rebirth and go for steadiness here.
And remember, I just want to chime in on the crocus, as you probably see them out in your own yard too. And we just had a big dump of snow, at least here in Denver. And you know, you're worried about your little crocus, like, oh, are they going to be okay? Are they going to be okay? Yeah, look how great they are. As soon as the sun came out, the snow melted, and they're still there. The little delicate crocus is strong and mighty. So being like the delicate crocus right now doesn't have to put the shield and the sword. It already has its internal strength in it. And that's the energy of us right now. You already have this internal strength. You don't have to go to a place of fear.
Mm-hmm. The next one in that mix is Lilith. And Lilith is our sacred feminine part that has been pushed down, suppressed, repressed, depressed, pushed out of the circle, denied. You get the idea. And what is the sacred feminine, if that's not familiar to you? It has to do with intuition, with sensing, with feeling, with being empowered in circular cycles as opposed to linear. It means being connected to what Mother Earth is saying. Well, how do you know we're out of balance with this? The earth is burning, there's floods, there's coronavirus. All the things that we've been destroying in nature is echoing back to us. And Lilith, when it comes back like that, we may see Lilith as a demon, and she often is portrayed that way in the Christian tradition. But when we go into what is wrong, that's where the medicine is. And then Lilith becomes the one who is the giver of renewal and rebirth and re-empowerment of the feminine. Do you want to say something about her?
Well, I was just saying earlier, the yang energy that we need to move away from, that's been such a strong force in how we have existed as a human species together, and we're supposed to be going to this yin energy, and here we have this stronghold over here of Lilith with the moon. These are two sisters of energy. Lilith holds the moon in her orbit around. That's her centrifugal force. They work with each other. And the deepest part of who you are is this Lilith energy, and they're lining up. So these are players saying the fire is burning for sure, but hold to your internal strength and go deep in and find this yin energy of yourself, or this nurturing, intuitive, empathic, creative. It's also very creative energy, compassionate energy. That's part of what's going to be the medicine. And then there's one more that's in this Aries hold.
The last one is Eris. And Eris...
different from Aries.
It's E-R-I-S. You'll see it right below here. Eris is the goddess of discord. And what are some of her children's names?
I don't remember them all. Like,
forgetfulness and manslaughter
and
and disease and all the things that come out of war and destruction. Those are all of her children, all of those words. And Eris, the goddess of discord, is the sister or complement of Mars or Aries energy. And it's Kali. if we want to put it into the yogic perception. She's the destroyer who comes out there, and when she is down here in the sign of Aries, she's extra pissed off. And Eris is squaring Pluto right now and has been for over a year and will continue to do so for all of 2020. So the warrior feminine Kali energy has been squaring Pluto, and Pluto is what our souls need to transform. It's not what we want always, but it's what we need. And it goes back to the Agni Kunda that Katrina talked about, the fire of purification.
That goes to the theme, is offered to the fire that which needs to burn. And I didn't actually mention the word Agni Kunda yet, but that is the Sanskrit word for the sacrificial fire. Like when we make our offerings, I offer up my jealousy and insecurity. I offer up my my rage. I offer up my anxiety. Like, put these things into the fire right now that's happening. Start pulling back and getting deep into that Lilith part of yourself and find what is really needing to emerge, like the crocus at this time, that hasn't had a chance to because of our old ways. The old ways are dissolving. It's the Tundava, it's the Rudra Tandava right now. It's the dissolution and destruction of what we've known to be and become complacent with being, accepting what is. And now we're going to have a ground zero, really, to decide what is the way to go forward. So there's a couple innovative things that are in the chart coming up in this next 2 weeks that can help us to move forward into innovation. You want to speak to some of those?
Yes, I'm going to skip over 2 things and come back about Venus. On March 30th, on Monday, March 30th, Mars goes into the sign of Aquarius.
So Mars is in Capricorn right now. So in a week's time, from the time you get this report, Mars will move into Aquarius and will be right next to Saturn.
Aquarius energy is the innovation, the new, the revolution that's coming. When it's really in high vibration way, it's how to use technology and social reform for the best of all of humanity.
And we're already seeing that blowing up. We're online with live streaming classes. Everyone else is going to be online with something. We're all online more. I was looking at my phone and it tells you how much more online time you have every week, and I was like up double from the week before, because we're living through technology right now, through that next tier of innovation. And so when Mars moves in next to Saturn, which governs it, Saturn is the governor. Saturn is the one who presides and holds the judicious way of things. They're both going to be sitting in Aquarius. So the initiator and the one who is someone who takes charge, Mars, and the one who holds the rules around it is all moved in. So this is a prime time to set new precedents, new rules, new ways of doing things going forward in this Aquarian energy that we're stepping into. I actually feel that when Saturn, which was in the last report, Saturn moved into Aquarius last
21st.
Just a couple days ago, on the 21st, when Saturn moved into Aquarius, I feel like that was, there's never like an official start date to something, and time doesn't matter in the cosmos. But I feel like that move into Aquarius with Saturn there really sets the tone for the dawning of the age of Aquarius, as we've been so hearing about for, you know, a couple decades now at least. And it's here, we're in it. So Aquarian energy, as Michael said, is that innovative, revolutionary, big change. Think like Einstein, he was very much that Aquarian energy. So start putting your thinking caps on. This is really a big piece for that.
On a side note, last time Saturn was in Aquarius, it entered in 1991 and then went through 93, and that's when the internet was born, while Saturn was in Aquarius.
There you go, boom.
So this is the Saturn return for the internet.
And speaking of past things, let's go back to the nodes. Remember the South Node and the North Node? They're in Capricorn and they're in Cancer. and they're always opposite of each other. The last time they were there, in this exact they're at 3 degrees of there, so right in there. The last time they were there was
September 11th, 2001. This is a nodal return, so this is a revisiting of that energy.
Remember how much panic, how much fire we felt at that time when we were all hearing about 9/11? That's a similar kind of feeling right now of, oh my gosh, but now it's intensified. This is affecting the economy and the educational systems, and people are out of work and all over the world, not just in isolated areas, not just for as, I don't want to belittle what happened at 9/11, it was a huge impact. But this is a similar and perhaps even more bigger impact of its fire. But speaking of fires, I want to remind us of a fire that happened in 1988. If you guys were around back then, remember when Yellowstone burned, and there was nearly 800,000 acres of beautiful, pristine national forest burning, and we were watching it burn on TV, and we were heart-sickened about it. And it did devastate so much beauty. And in that dissolution, that was the Rudra Tandava at the time, we were sickened. And now, when you go visit Yellowstone, where many of us go for vacations, it's greener and more beautiful, and it actually brought up some extinct plants that weren't growing before because they had been smothered and died down through all the debris of the pine needles, and animals have returned, and it's flourishing better. It's in the other side, and now it's in the Ananda Tandava instead of the Rudra Tandava. And we don't need to wonder, like, how long is this going to take us to recover? That's, 1988, and now it's, 50 years later, and do we have to wait that long to see return? No, because of all this Aquarian energy. We are on a faster pace in society. We're exponentially able to recover compared to what it was even 50 years ago. So I wouldn't hold that, again, cataclysmic doomsday approach to things. That's not going to serve us. Instead, we use this fire time to be letting go of the things that are holding us back, the old ways, the very south node approach to the way we've been living. Like, what can we start shedding? What are the essentials? Right now we're quarantined to be thinking about what are the essentials that we need to go do right now. Get groceries, right? And maybe get outside and take a walk, but otherwise stay in the house. You don't need gas in your car. Most of us don't. You don't need to go anywhere really. Just stay put. So then on that level, what's the essentials in your life going forward? What are the things that are most valuable to you? And start putting them towards this Cancer energy of where we want to use our innovation, the Aquarian energy. How do we want to bring these more valuable things to fruition, like the crocus again coming out of the ground? And what do we want to let just stay dead and dormant and no longer have a pull on us? I'm hoping that this has minimal sacrificial lambs, but we are all going to know somebody that this drastically affects, either through death or poverty or some kind of perhaps physical ailment that comes out of it. We're going to know many stories of destruction that comes from the Rudra Tandava, as I keep calling it. But we are going to see and hear and know and live and feel way more stories and a real life scenario of living in the Ananda Tandava on the other side, because we will not return to what we've been doing. We will not return to what we've been doing. There's too many things that have been shown to us in this process that revealed to us that it was not working, that it was the underbelly of it had become poisoned or insidious. Maybe at one time it was working in right way, but it is no longer working that way now. So we will let that stay in the burn, and we won't try to resurrect that out. So instead our focus is, what can we bring forward? What can we bring forward? And right now, while we're in the Rudra Tandava, the hot fire, put in the things to this, like start shedding and letting go. There's a couple more and then we'll let you go, that we wanted to talk about at this time too. You mentioned, let's give some good news on some things. There's some trines with Venus even.
I'll cover all of Venus in one swoop, but basically on March 27th, 28th, and then up on April 4th, Venus is going to make a trine to Jupiter, Pluto, and then Saturn. Trine is something that is harmonious, helpful, assisting, guiding energy, like a Sherpa helping you up the mountain. Oh, don't step there, have a cookie, you look tired. And Venus is all about love and care. That's it. And so when Venus is together with Jupiter, Jupiter energy is about what's expanding, what quest are we going on, and Venus says we're on a quest to remember to care for each other, to love for the whole, to bring in the greater purpose for the whole. Jupiter is the whole of everybody, it's Aum. And so there's a nice trine there, and I can list so many things that have come up for me in my newsfeed on Facebook where I feel so much more love for the whole because of one story from one individual about something that they did during this time. When Venus comes up to Pluto, in a trine, she's nestling up against the soul and against the force of evolution, against Shiva himself. It's like Shiva Shakti coming together. And it's a little tempering of that Shiva energy and saying, remember love, remember compassion, remember self-care, remember to be in a place of acceptance.
So these trines, Venus to, oh, you had one more though.
And Venus-Saturn on April 4th. Venus and Saturn, Venus is coming up to the elder, to the rule maker, to the government, to the forces of law, and saying, remember compassion, remember love, remember to serve each other, and help out. And so there could be a big shift as Saturn has just moved into Aquarius out of Capricorn. Capricorn is, we'll follow the rules, we'll do it the old way, we'll keep the structure, keep the stocks, keep everything, don't let go, hold, hold, hold. And Aquarius says, let go, create new, let the old go away. And Venus says, I'm there with you, but we do it with love.
So that's helpful. Lots of help from Venus down here. Venus is going to move out of Taurus in a little bit, and she's going to move over into Gemini on April 3rd. And when she shifts out of Taurus into Gemini, we're going to feel a little bit more positive information coming through the ether, because communication is Gemini. Transportation or technology, communication, that's all Gemini energy. It's also about curiosity. It's in alignment with that inventive, like get curious, and you have this boon of Venus there to help it. So Venus helping us with our Saturn energy, Venus helping us with our Jupiter energy, and Venus helping us with our Pluto energy. Big love. As Michael said, the word Hari Om, that's the Sanskrit word for one love, if you will, or everybody loves, or we're all loved together, or we're all one. That's maybe the best way. And this is going to really be enhanced. We're going to start to get the picture. The Gemini energy of with Venus in Gemini, we're going to get that we are all connected. This is how we communicate, is heart to heart, through these heart cords. Not so much this kind of communication anymore, but this kind of communication, where things resonate in our hearts, and we're pulling on our heart strings, and we're feeling each other, and we're starting to not be so selfish, and we become much more selfless in this process. I think she'll have a big influence on that. So Venus is helping us quite a bit. Couple more that we've got to do. I forgot about two more big ones on here, but you want to talk about Pluto and Jupiter. Jupiter
conjoins Pluto, comes together on Saturday, April 4th. This is another one of these alignments that astrologers have been waiting for. It hasn't happened for 13 years, and it's part of the big Capricorn alignments that have been playing out for 2020. So this is a big dog player. Jupiter, as I talked when I was referencing Venus, has to do with what we have faith and trust and belief in. It's the laws and rules of Mother Nature. And Pluto is the soul and the force of evolution. And so I think that this could, in a positive way, be a rebirth of reconnecting to trusting Mother Nature's healing ability, trusting Mother Nature's nurturing ability, trusting our own internal ability to nurture and heal and have faith in each other, and do that from a soulful place.
Jupiter and Pluto to me is intuition, trusting your intuition. You know at a gut level exactly what to do for yourself right now. And when we go into a place of panic and fear, it stifles or suffocates your ability to hear that deep inner knowing from your soul self. So keep yourself free of the frenetic energy, even though it's so hard, but take some time out. The world is not going to go away on the internet. You're not going to miss anything if you miss the news conference from Trump at 3 o'clock. It's fine. You'll get the information. It's not going to be something that you can't time out for. And give yourself time for meditation. Give yourself time for nature walks. Give yourself time for creative exploration. Get out your markers and a piece of paper if you don't have all of your crafty tools that you want to use for that project you've had in mind. You don't have to go to Michael's and get that in order to be creative. Write, sing, pick up your guitar and play music, even if you don't know how to play it. You got it for a reason on an intuitive level a long time ago. Just start strumming. You've got YouTube. Google a YouTube video and show you how to play it. That's what it's all there for. This is that time, is to really take what's inside you and make it bigger, your Pluto, Jupiter self, and make it become the gift that we can give back to the collective. It's not selfish anymore. It's selfless. And everything is pointing to Aries, which is the self. And it's saying, transform the self, the way we've looked at the self as being an isolated, separated island in the whole swim of things. But we're really sharing the waters underneath us. The waters underneath all these little archipelago islands are the connection between us, and that's what this Aries energy needs to focus on, is how we can still be individuals, but we use our individualness to help the whole collective. The concept of Ubuntu, the concept of Inlakech, Alakin, Aloha, Mitakioisen, Namaste, all the ancient wisdoms have been saying this forever, and it's time to return back to it, which is that Cancer energy, going back into our shell of our soul and learning who we are and being who we are. Last one that we'll get, the Mars square Uranus.
Okay. Well, that's actually getting into the next full moon, but the full moon is on April 7th in Libra, and that same day Mars will square Uranus. Square is challenge and demanding that things be done a different way. And so our Mars energy, which is now going to be in Aquarius at this time, it says use technology in a new way, use the revolutionary force in a new way, use the perspective of what the future needs to look like in a new way. And Uranus is saying it's going to be weird.
So get used to weird. Yeah, the weird is going to be the new norm. I mean, that's just part of, we've been white bread. We've been just starched, bleached white bread. And now we're going to have pumpernickel and rye, and we're going to have all kinds of really fun sourdoughs, and it's time for change. We just don't need white bread anymore. It's been too much white bread. And one more little guy that I'll mention, on March 30th, when Mars goes into Aquarius, just be aware of some shift, and a good shift, I feel, like a charge towards some innovation. And on that same day, Mercury is passing out of its shadow phase. So we've been Mercury direct, but it had been crossing over where it was in retrograde. So now on that March 30th, it will pass out of that track. It was back and forth, over and back over, and it's going to go forward into all new territories. So Mercury communication in that new innovation is all going to be going forward. So I think you're going to see the rise of a whole bunch of online options for you to do. Online schools, online everything. And don't forget, we have online yoga at Karma Yoga Studio, and it really helps support us and our teachers. So come take a live stream class and stay safe, and remember to use this time to offer to the fire that which needs to be burned. Just start letting go. People, shed it all away. It's okay. We're going to be okay on the other side. Take care. Much love. Namaste.
Namaste.